Man,
responsibility.
look, like, and that's where again, man, it can get a little raw because I've always had this feeling, vibe, knowing of like my life is supposed to be significant in some way.
Mm,
And with that comes a lot of pressure, but also with that comes a lot of like, well, just because you survived that birth story, your life by itself is a miracle. And so
mm,
with that carries a lot of pride at times, a lot of like, you step into the room and just because of that, you feel like, yo, I'm here. You know what I'm saying?
mm-hmm,
I'm here, right?
mm-hmm.
And so I would say emotionally for me, man, like I didn't really grow up like missing or longing or like that really wasn't my deal. Because again, like I have a younger brother. So but I think as I got older, I understood the significance of that. And I understood like, yo, bro, like you here. So that's awesome.
What's happening, y'all? This is Mike D with Black Fathers Now, where we're bringing the village to the brothers. Every couple of weeks, you can look forward to a quick inspirational message or a thought-provoking guest with knowledge and wisdom, all geared towards helping you be the best father that you can be. We're bringing the village to you. Now it's your turn to do something with what you learned. All right, y'all. Let's go. What's going on, fellas? This is Mike D with Black Fathers Now. And yo, we got my man on here. This dude, we got Donald Gadson, man. And he goes by Donald the Voice Gadson. And you'll hear it when he starts talking why he's called the Voice. But my man is a husband and he's a father. He's originally from Florida, currently still lives in Florida. So he's a real deal Florida dude, right? Florida boy, right? Yeah. I'm from Georgia, so it's DSGD, down south Georgia boy. So I guess
look at you all right now.
Pastor Troy in the building, right?
There it is.
But
we ready.
We ready. Watch out.
Oh, come on now. You played too much already.
I played too much already out there.
Man, I love it, man. I love it.
Appreciate you, brother. But he's married. He has a daughter. He's a 3-year-old daughter, correct?
3, yeah.
Yep. And the thing that's interesting is prior to becoming a father of his own daughter, he and his wife were foster parents to 7 kids. We're going to jump into that a little bit. He's a creative at heart. As you heard, he's the voice. So he's a voiceover actor, but he's also a former educator. So we're going to really jump into his story, hear how he operates, but just really learn a little bit about my man, Donald Gadson. So fellas in the Black Fathers Now family, welcome my man, Donald Gadson. Yeah.
What up, bro? Yo, I'm honored, man. I'm honored. Mike D, I'm honored, man. So thank you for having me on. Happy to chop up with you, man. And let's get it, man. How you doing today?
Man, I'm wonderfully well, brother. I hope you are the same.
Good, likewise.
And and before we even jump into this, man, I have to let everybody know how you and I actually ended up interacting. We have a mutual friend, Andre Hatchett. Shout out to Bob Black NYC and Mr. Real Estate and Mr. Notary. And I mean, brother got stuff everywhere, right?
Everywhere.
But yeah, I know, right? But a few episodes back, I interviewed Andre to kind of chop it up and talk about his story. And after that interview, you actually reached out to me and was like, you interviewed my big bro, and I'm really digging what's going on. How can I help? And I'm going to be honest with you. It was challenging. Somebody years ago told me that to be a good giver, you have to be a good receiver as well. And that's hard. And that's really hard because I always want to be on one side of the ledger. I always want to be the person giving. But by me not receiving, it denies that person who wants to give me that opportunity to get that joy that I get from giving. I deny them that opportunity. And so when Donald reached out to me, the brother was like, how can I help? And I was like, I mean, I don't really like to ask for a lot, but, he was like, well, check this out. How about I create some promo videos for your episodes and it'll help you to put things out there. I was like, dude, are you serious? And you just offered that service and it's been amazing. I mean, fellas listening, this brother reached out and really just wanted to help to put the word out there about Black Fathers Now. And in the process, I'm getting to know him and realizing he brings all this stuff to the table and has an amazing story. But that started from the fact of him wanting to help, but then me being open to receiving that help. To be a good giver, you got to be a good receiver. And I want to say, Donald, you've really helped me to grow in that department. So I say thank you for what you've done, one, with the promos, but then two, for just opening up to helping me to grow in that area of my life.
Yeah, man. Hey, man, that's what it's all about, man. And so like, so Andre Hatchett, like Mike mentioned, man, like just so I mean that's how Andre lives. Like he's just a giver, you know what I'm saying? Like whatever he have is yours, you know what I'm saying? And so whenever he told me about his episode with you and I listened, I was like, why haven't I heard of this podcast before? And I'm like, this is really dope. So I'm just big man on like your gift makes room, you know what I'm saying? And so like literally whether that's just you planting the seed to say, hey man, like great job, keep going. That's my gift of encouragement, or literally it's like me going in my bag and say, hey bro, like what do you need? You know what I'm saying? And so then when you say that, it's kind of like, well, all I know to give is my gift, you know what I'm saying? And so and that can only come back to me in some kind of way, man. And so I've just seen it over and over and over, Mike, where it's like the more that you give, man, it truly is true, man, like the more you receive. So hey man, we're about here trying to encourage dads, man. So it's like, yo, like why wouldn't I hop on that? Why wouldn't I want to promote that? Why wouldn't I want to be able to push that forward? So you got it, my brother. I appreciate that. That means a lot.
Man, I really appreciate you, man.
Yeah.
And, and speaking of giving, before we start the interviews, I always like the brothers to give shout outs because, again, who are we without our village? So go ahead and give a shout out to your support team, to those that are in your life that helps you to truly be Donald the voice.
Hey, man, well, first, like, I think about my wife. She for sure, man, is in so many ways the person who challenges me even when I don't like it. When I mess up, she's the one who's gracious towards me. In terms of being a dad, like she's the one who gave me the beautiful experience of not only birthing my daughter, but then also, clue me into the blessing that our foster care journey was. So first, shout out to you, Bae. I appreciate you. I love you. And then obviously, my daughter, and of course my spiritual dad, Charles Cooper. Shout out to Moody Bible Institute. And I mean, I can run through a whole list, man. But in terms of like, and then a big shout out to my dad as well, man. Like that's the guy that always talks me off of the ledge. And so we'll get into this, but I think he and my mom had me whenever they were 19 and 17, and so for him to not be in his mid 50s, it's kind of weird because it's like I just turned 34. So we're kind of in this space of life where it's like, wow, like I've gotten to experience a lot that he didn't get to experience. And so it's like, it's just this beautiful thing where I'm always able to go back to him to be able to either glean wisdom or just to be able to talk, you know what I'm saying? Like chop it up. And so I appreciate that. So yeah, man, that's the support team, man. Them the homies, Mike.
Them the homies, right? Shout out to the homies. I can dig it, man. That's what's up. And so, you mentioned your dad, you mentioned your spiritual father, you mentioned your wife and all of that. Let's take it back, man. Let's go back to your origin story. You mentioned you're from Florida, man. Talk to us about growing up. You mentioned your parents were 17 and 19 when they had you. So just talk to us about your journey growing up and some of your inspirations, and basically let's walk that up to the point of where you are today. Yeah,
man. So like a lot of this is super fresh for me. So if I seem like I'm a little excitable or turned up about it, man, I'm really in this phase of evolving and like learning about who I am because of the origin story. And so Mike, I'm really in this season of having to shed a lot of that, like respect it, honor it, but yet shed a lot of it because it's really preventing me from accelerating and being who I need to be as a husband and as a dad. And so as I talk about it, it's raw for me, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm like in it right now, you know what I mean? So I'm an 80s baby, you know what I'm saying? My mom was 17, my dad was 19 whenever they had me. They were not married whenever they had me, and so in terms of the typical situation of an African American community, that type of deal, that was kind of like my origin, right? I was also born a twin. My twin passed away in between. From what I know, like 3 weeks after we were born.
Oh wow!
And so in terms of just like life, and I was born 2 pounds 1.25 ounces. You know what I'm saying? 13 inches long. So your boy was a preemie.
Wow.
And so in terms of just like my story, man, like I am really like a miracle in a lot of ways, man. And so my parents were kind of thrust into parenthood, but they had you talk about a village, man. Like they had this amazing village that surrounded them. You know what I'm saying? My mom was very close to her great grandmother, who we lived with for a number of years. I think up until the time I was 3, and then of course my mom's mom as well. And so both of my sets of grandparents were within 10 to 15 minutes of each other. So in terms of just
Wow.
like a very dense, extended family type of situation, like that's what I was born into. Um, and so I have a younger brother. He's 5 years younger than me. And so in terms of just like my origin story, man, like that whole birth story, teenage parents, all that stuff, man, was really a driver of my understanding of myself. And so when it came down to like, thinking ahead to the future, as you know, for a lot of African American men, it was get an education, you
Mm-hmm.
know what I'm saying? And, you want to have a good job, you know what I'm saying? So my dad really pushed my brother and I, man, to really go pursue like education and to have a stable job. And that was because of what he had experienced. You know what I'm saying? Like, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, in the South, he came from actually his dad grew up doing like sharecropping, you know what I'm saying? My mom's great grandmother was a sharecropper herself. And so it was just a culture that like breeded not only a lot of trauma because of that, but then also this desire to want to be educated, you know what I'm saying? And so
Mm.
so yeah, man, that's kind of like what it was. So like, I was just a kid, man, who grew up like going to school, play sports here and there, but I was really into drama and theater. Obviously,
Mhm.
that's like the whole voiceover creative side. That's what that comes from. And my parents were just hardworking, honorable people, man, who slipped up early and wanted to make it right. And so yeah, man, that's what that is.
Wow. And so, take it back, and it's interesting when you were talking your story, yours is kind of similar to mine, but in reversed. I'm the oldest of three boys. My two younger brothers are twins.
Wow,
They're 3.5 years younger than I am.
that's
Whereas
crazy.
the twins were first, and then you have a younger brother
Wow,
that's five
yeah,
years younger than you. So it's kind of reverse. And then you mentioned that, you were a twin, you are a twin,
right,
but your twin sibling passed away 3 weeks after birth.
right,
Um, and again, we haven't talked about this beforehand, and
yeah,
it was kind of let me know where you want to go with this. But
yeah, man.
like, what are your, from an emotional perspective, like how does that resonate with you on a personal level, knowing that, you're here, but yet does that lead to
Yeah, man, look,
responsibility?
like, and that's where again, man, it can get a little raw because I've always had this feeling, vibe, knowing of like my life is supposed to be significant in some way.
Mm,
And with that comes a lot of pressure, but also with that comes a lot of like, well, just because you survived that birth story, your life by itself is a miracle. And so
mm,
with that carries a lot of pride at times, a lot of like, you step into the room and just because of that, you feel like, yo, I'm here. You know what I'm saying?
mm-hmm,
I'm here, right?
mm-hmm,
Um, and so I would say emotionally for me, man, like I didn't really grow up like missing or longing or like that really wasn't my deal. Because again, like I have a younger brother. So but I think as I got older, I understood the significance of that. And I understood like, yo, bro, like you here. So that's awesome. And
mm-hmm,
you quote unquote beat the odds in that way. But now it's time to get to work. So like what we doing? You know what I mean?
mm-hmm.
So the emotional side, Mike, like, I honestly can't say that I had a longing or some kind of pain tied to that, but it more so manifested itself in being and wanting to be significant and also at the same time like dealing with like a lot of insecurity or pride around that as well. So yeah,
Mm.
man. Yeah.
That's powerful, man, because I think in our own ways we all deal with some level of loss or trauma, and but I think especially as Black men, as Black fathers, how do we then take that and utilize that as fuel, right? And so to me, it sounds like you repurposed that loss into purpose. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's extremely important for the brothers to listen, because again, we all have challenges, we all have loss, we all have difficult moments. But what do we do? Do we turn that into to a victim? Do we become a victim? Or
Right.
then do we use that as the fuel and as a platform for us to build upon to say that, no, I am special. I'm
Right.
here for a reason. It doesn't mean that I'm going to impact millions of people, but it does mean that I'm here to do something and impact someone. I mean, I think Tupac said it best. He said, I might not be the one to change the world, but I
That was smart.
guarantee I will spark the mind of the one who
Right.
will change the world.
There you
So
go, bro.
whether it's you or whether it's the one that you're connected to, the one that
Right.
you're inspiring, you're here for a reason. And I think we have to figure out ways. And I think that's something that as Black men, we really have to do as Black fathers, because we got little ones watching us. as they learn how to turn challenges, loss, tragedy, or whatever into something purposeful, I think that's extremely important.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I mean, it is, when you talk about purpose, man, it's like, I don't think we realize, how much purpose it is. And I mean, just literally like being alive, you know what I'm saying? And I mean, and I know in our community, man, we deal with all kinds of issues that are just all just related to trauma, you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And we act out of that, man. But to literally have life, man, like it is like you win it. You know what I'm saying? You
That's
win it. So
right.
like, it's like, okay, like now that we have life, like now it's about, okay, like you said, bro, like how do we now work with what we have, man? And so kind of like I said earlier, man, like being able to have the gift of life, it's
Mm.
like that's supposed to like make room. So it's like, so now make your presence like known, like make like the gift that you of your essence, like make that be known. You know what I'm saying? And we don't have to necessarily like push anybody else down or do that. If need be, you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Pressure will be applied if need
There
be.
you go.
Like,
MDD.
you know what I'm saying? Need be. Pressure but man, but like, it's a gift, man. It's a gift. So
The gift of life. I mean, again, I'm all about perspective, man, because how you approach things literally dictates how things happen. And, ultimately it leads to the probability of possible outcome or positive outcomes.
Yeah.
The gift of life, the moment that we start approaching life as a gift,
yeah.
the moment that we start looking at it as a gift is the moment that we start taking it seriously, and the moment that we start really taking action and living according to the plan that we are all divinely connected to and really supposed to be living. So, fellas, I want you to pay attention to the concept, the gift of life. This thing that you got right now is a gift.
Yeah.
Real talk. What you gonna do with it? And speaking of what you're gonna do with it, you grew up, you had younger parents and you had a village around you all, multiple generations. And you said you went on to college and you became an educator.
Yeah.
Then from that point, you got into fosterhood. And so you all started fostering, kids, and you fostered 7 kids. Talk to us a little bit about that transition, going into education, and then how did this whole thing of becoming a foster parent kind of come into play?
Yeah, man. So again, man, just giving credit where credit is due, man. My wife, a little bit of her story. And this is public. As a matter of fact, podcasting wise, we're not active anymore, but we have in the archives, you can look it up on Apple Podcasts and stuff. It's called the Black Daddy Podcast. We did that like from like 2016 to 2017, somewhere around there.
Okay.
So in that, she shares a lot of her story. Her mom passed away when she was 7. Her dad never ever remarried. And she's the only child. And so my wife grew up with this, again, significance. My wife has always had this desire to, like I'm here for a reason, and I want to make that count. And so how that manifested for her was, I want to be an advocate for the voiceless. I want to be an advocate for children who are in situations and they aren't heard literally because of their age or because of the trauma that they've experienced. And so it's like, so for her, that manifested into this desire to want to be a foster mother. For some time, man, like my wife really had to work through wanting to be a biological mom, you know what I'm saying? Because it was the like, wow, like my mom died when I was 7, and with that comes a lot, you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So she went on this beautiful motherhood journey to then eventually give birth to our daughter. But before that, we both were trained educationally, like in the social sciences. I have a master's in psychology, and she has a bachelor's and a master's in social work. And then I have a master's in family and youth ministries. And so in terms of like our paradigm, which is also tied to both of our origin stories, right? Our family units, came this desire to see families restored, families inspired, and families also empowered, you know what I'm saying? And so I never forget, Mike, she came to me and we were married. I think it was like the first year of our marriage. And baby, if you listen, my bad about the dates, but hey, just keeping it real, you know what I'm saying? It's been a while ago. Yeah, been a while ago. She came to me and she was like, babe, like, as a social worker, I'm going in and out of these homes. And what I'm seeing is that like these kids, they're getting what they need, but here we are, you know what I'm saying? Being people who believe in like the Bible, like God's word. We believe in and the gospel of Jesus, that like none of us can do good. You know what I'm saying? That like that from birth that we have this desire to like want to do wrong, but yet like a good God has like literally like put on flesh in order to then like save us from that. And we have hope. And like here we are, 24 years old, and like what are we doing? What are we doing? You know what I'm saying? And so, yo, when you get them kind of bars, when you get that kind of work, you know what I'm saying? It's like, what do you say? So man, she was like, she was like, babe, like, I really want you to take maybe, you know, some time to pray about it, yada, yada, yada. And it's just kind of like, man, whenever you know something's right, it's right. So then that launched us off into the foster care journey.
Hold on, stop. Yeah. At 24,
we got married at 23, and 24. Yeah.
Wow. Now that's interesting. At 24, you all became foster parents.
Yeah.
Wow.
You know, it's had its good, bad, and ugly, you know what I'm saying, effects.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly good for sure. But again, man, it's like,
can you stop for a second and explain, you know, the whole concept of fostering? Because I think there might be some that, and maybe me included, that get adoption and fostering confused. Can you kind of walk back a little bit and kind of help us to understand the whole concept of fostering and really what it is?
Yeah, man. So the foster care system is pretty much where you have children who their parents have either been deemed irresponsible in some way or have been abusive in some kind of way, or they've been alleged to be one of those things.
Gotcha.
The state then comes in and says, and they do an investigation, and they say, okay, based on what we see or based on these allegations, we have to remove your child from your care until either one, we deem you to be more fit, or two, or maybe even three, you've done certain things and you've manifested certain behaviors, or you've got counseling, or you kind of went through a process to then be reunified with your children.
Okay.
In the state of Florida, we have a thing where, you know, from the time that a child is removed from their home, and depending on like their caseload or their case plan, let me just say, they have about 18 months time until then the court comes back and says, hey, are we now looking at this possibility of terminating your parental rights? And here's what's crazy, Mike. That process, every time that a child is either reunified or removed, that clock starts over every single time. So this is why you can have a child who's 18 years old and who's been in the foster care system for 16 years because they either going back and forth, or they've been in a group home, or they've been reunified again. And so every single time that process starts over again. So it's not really until the state deems that a parent is either unfit or they've been abusive up until the point to where their parental rights legally have to be terminated, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then at that point, either that child is adopted by a relative, or that child is then adopted by, if they are on foster care, the foster parent or someone in the foster system that wants to take that child into their custody and become their legal guardian. So when it comes down to adoption and foster care it's designed to be a temporary process.
Mm-hmm.
It's designed to be almost like shall I say, a carrier of grace until the parent can get right, right. In essence.
Yeah, gotcha.
But yeah, man. So foster care is designed to be temporary, but again, systems are broken, man, because people are broken. You know what I'm saying? So that's the big difference.
And I want to ask a little bit there because, you know, my wife and I have encountered some individuals locally that have done fostering, and, you know, it sounds good and it sounds noble, but then the other part to it is this emotional attachment. And how is it that because you said you all have fostered 7 kids, and I assume probably 7 different durations and all of that stuff. Yeah. How do you emotionally handle, because, okay, you all are coming from a stable situation and you all can bring the love and all of that. You bring a kid out of a situation and you have them, it's a temporary time frame, but then at the end of the day, there's that time's going to be up, and that kid's going to end up either going back or going to a relative or going somewhere else. How do you all emotionally prepare yourself for that? I mean, how do y'all handle that, man?
Yeah, man. So look, man, I know I keep referencing my bride a lot, man, but she's just a gift to the world in a lot of ways. She told me, she's like, babe, look, when we do this, is it going to be almost as if whenever they go back either to their parent or they go back into the system for whatever reason, it's almost like a death.
Mm-hmm.
Like because especially the age range that we were foster parents of, which was 0 to 2. Um,
Wow.
that particular age range, man. I mean, they're babies and they're infants, and so like the bond that you establish with them is, I mean, it's super just organic and it's super just core to human nature, right? And so she was like, if we can prepare ourselves for it, again, just like mentally kind of like flipping that switch and yet still being able to do it, then it's worthwhile. Now, obviously, thank God, according to my knowledge, like none of our foster children have been, deceased, anyway, or been in that situation. But it kind of answers the question, how do you prepare emotionally? The answer is that you don't, man. You just jump in and do it. I think it's almost like, going to war. You know what I'm saying? It's like, yo, like, man, like this situation sucks. I used to think that their parents sucked until I became a biological parent. You see, you're like, oh man, if I don't really have the mechanisms and the bandwidth to deal with life, I get it. Like I get why kids, get abused. Like I get why parents just leave. I get why they, resort to vices and smoking and, what I'm saying? I get why I get it, what I'm saying? Because life, again, man, like life is a gift, but it's like, if you haven't been awakened to that, and if you don't have the support system in order to see that, and then you just replicate dysfunction, it's like, I get it. And so it just made us super gracious, man. It's like, yo, if we don't do it, like, who is? And in particular, my history was amazing. That's why I love what you do in terms of like speaking to Black fathers. The number of in particular females, Black females in foster care is just astronomical. I'm convinced that like God is calling me to be a girl dad, because out of the 7 or maybe even 8 placements that we had, we only had 2 little boys. All the rest were girls.
Really?
My daughter, obviously now, but man, I tell you, whenever you find a why, it's like the emotional roller coaster or just like the pain of them leaving is like, yo, like it's worth it. You know what I'm saying? Because if we are the change agent in their life in some kind of way, even from like them being able to bond with other humans as a baby, then it's like that's a win. You know what I'm saying? That's a win. So
and it's interesting because I had a friend of mine years ago. We talked about relationships, and he said, people are in your life for reasons, seasons, and lifetimes.
Yeah.
And me being a person who is always looking to build relationships, I used to take it hard when a friend moves away, or you kind of not fall out, but your friends go and everybody's into different stuff, and you almost like lose that relationship because I wanted to hold on to every friendship. Like it's supposed to be my best friend from 8 until I'm 80. You know what I'm saying? But the reality is that people are in your lives for reasons, seasons, and lifetimes. And so once I learned and evolved and grew and developed to the point of realizing that everybody's not supposed to be here forever, then it gave me that ability or that freedom to let go. And so to your point, it's like, it seems like you all know that going in, that this season or for this reason, this child is in you all's presence. And that, and you go in and you realize that I can add value, with the time that I have. And you're doing that. I sent so much credit to y'all for that, man, because it's something that is so needed. And like you mentioned before, our children, there's a lot of us, disproportionately higher number of kids that look like you and I that are in the foster care system. And so if you are a person who is in a situation or an environment or in a family in which you all do have the capacity to consider this. I mean, this seems like it's a noble thing to do. And I appreciate you all for doing that, man.
Yeah, man. You got it, my brother. Hey, man, I appreciate it, man. I appreciate this. Is what it's all about. And look, if you're considering that, I would just say as an encouragement, the biggest need is obviously going to be, I think it's from ages like 10 to 18. Because I mean, who wants an older kid? You know what I'm saying? Like you know what I'm saying? So babies they smell good and they're cute and they're cuddly and all that, and they don't talk back. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So
that's right.
So the biggest need, man, is for sure like in that age range. And so if you do consider that, man, let me tell you, you could bless some folk for real.
For real, for real. And, you said something earlier that, your wife is an advocate for the voiceless, or that's basically the whole concept of being an advocate for the voiceless. And then I find it slightly ironic that you're Donald the Voice Gadson.
Hey man, nobody, come on now, Pastor.
Come on, Pastor.
Pastor.
Come on, Pastor.
That's just powerful, man. Like, no, I've never heard that parallel be made.
It's interesting. And it's interesting. And so to that point, and I mean, everybody's listening to your voice. You have that smooth, after 10 on the radio, next up, we got a little Q Sweat. You know all that?
Hey, man. I get it from my daddy, Mike. Get it from
my daddy. Most people say, I get it from my mama. You got it from
man. Hey, I get it from my daddy.
But so talk to us a little bit about that, man. So you are now a voiceover actor, and that's that's what you do. You do voiceovers. Talk to us a little bit about that. And you mentioned that you're a creative. Like, how have you kind of evolved from education into utilizing your voice as a mechanism to impact the world in this creative space?
Yeah, man. So a big part of this journey, man, is has been risk. And being a teacher and doing student ministry and stuff, you have the bandwidth to take risk and to be creative. And so, long story short, without going to the full story, just through drama and DJing at high school, and and at one time like having like a 3-month major in communications in college, and until I changed my major, I always had an interest in just media. You know what I'm saying, and the power of media to move people. So I picked up a side hustle where I just, found out about voiceovers, and someone was like, "Yo, man, like you should really like look into this." So I put together a horrible demo that if I was to play, you'd be like, "Oh my gosh, like that is really bad." But ended up freelancing with that, and just invested in some voiceover coaching, and just really kind of like put my head down. You know what I'm saying? And so it served as a really awesome side hustle for, the better of 7 or 8 years. And then while doing that, I learned some video editing skills and stuff like that, man. And so while teaching, man, like I was able to, again, like by day, like teach all day. And then, after I would come home from teaching, man, like hop in the booth and help companies and brands, man, like to produce, some of their media stuff. And so, man, it's just one of those things, man, where again, man, like gifts, you just kind of like, as you're given the grace in the room to create, you just kind of start painting, you know what I'm saying? And then as you paint, people be like, "Yo, I like that." And so you're like, "Oh, you like that? Well, let me do it again." You know what I'm saying? And so being a voiceover artist, it really, a lot of people think of like either radio or they think of like TV trailers and stuff like that. But it's like, that's only like the tip of the iceberg. It's like literally you have a whole, industry where you have audiobooks now, and you have podcasts, and you have e-learning courses. And so like, we live in a time, man, where like the world is so small because of the internet. And so what that means is that like if you have a skill that you can monetize, man, like you can really do some really cool things, man. And so that's the voiceover thing, and it's fun, man. I enjoy it.
Wow. You said it earlier, your gift makes room. And so just start using it. Just start putting it out there. Fellas, I hope you're paying attention to that. We all have some level of greatness, some level of gifting inside of us. And maybe you haven't uncovered that yet, but be on the lookout. You have to be open to uncovering it. But once you see that, put it out there. Because again, your gift will make room for you. Yeah. But you have to put it into action. And so that's what Donald's doing. Now, is there any, like when you think about this whole, voiceover stuff, is there anyone in particular that kind of stands out to you thus far that you've been maybe most proud of, or?
Probably the most high profile one has been, I did a campaign with Alaska Airlines that featured Russell Wilson, the Seahawks quarterback. So that was cool. But that was, again, through a relationship. That wasn't because of a booking agent. That wasn't because of marketing. It was because I literally, the older brother to a kid that I mentored when I was in student ministry is actually like Russell Wilson's. He runs like his whole nonprofit media arm, and I just happened to be in Seattle, and we connected. And he's like, "Yo, man, like come by the office, yada yada yada." And then lo and behold, that that spot aired on the entire Pacific coast. You know what I'm saying? And so that's the
Wow.
most high profile. I think the proudest in terms of voiceover, the proudest, honestly, Mike, like, and I'm pretty sure you can attest this in terms of like legacy wise. I think about whenever my wife and I were podcasting, I think about this episode. I think about other podcasts that I've been honored to be on, and the common thread is like my heart um, for the family unit, my heart for like fathers, and in particular young millennial fathers is like, yo, like using my voice to pub that up or to like point that out and say, you're like this is what it's about. That's the win for me, you know what I'm saying? And I believe that's why, like, even in my own marriage and in my own family presently, man, it's like you experience a lot of conflict, you know what I'm saying? You experience a lot, man, and it's like, yo, like, why is this? And then it's like God reminds you, like, you said you wanted this, bro. Like you said,
Wow.
you literally want to be a voice to advocate for a healthy family.
Wow.
So like, because of how jacked up you are and because of your selfishness or whatever, like, I'm gonna use this as a mirror to show you, like, oh, like so you want to talk to other people about their situation, but like, you're the problem guy. You know what I'm saying?
You ain't working on your own stuff.
Hey, you know what I mean, man?
You know what man, when they say the speck in somebody else's eye and the plank in your own eye, right? Come on,
man. Look, so just thank God for grace, man. Because like, if it's not for that, bro, we'll just be like, man, just forget all of it. Forget all of it, Mike. That ain't what it's about. That ain't what it's
real,
about.
Dude. I'm gonna tell you, it's like what's so interesting, and that's kind of part of my whole, mantra in regards to Black Fathers Now, is that by putting things out there, by interviewing dynamic brothers like yourself, and me getting full of information and wisdom, that then helps to hold me accountable as a dad myself.
Man, look, yeah.
Right? It's just like, because that's what's expected of you. I mean, once you start doing things and putting yourself out there, then you have to carry yourself in a certain light so that you then are held accountable, so that you then are walking and talking and breathing what it is that you so-called profess.
Come on, bro.
Man, that's real.
Look, I'm about to cash app you an offering after that, because that was you just, hey, man. That's facts, man. That's facts.
That is. That's facts. But I appreciate you being transparent on that, because at the end of the day, we have to be authentic in our approach. It's no longer partly because of the internet, your kids or people who are around you can pull their phone up and fact check you on the spot. I mean, I've done that. I was doing a talk on stage and I mentioned something. I dropped a quote. And once I got done, one of the guys in the audience came up to me and said, "Hey, man, what you said, I found it." I'm like, see, you better be telling the truth, right? So your actions and your words better match, for real.
Brother, you are preaching to me right now. So
I'm preaching to myself.
I'm in some therapy. Hey, so if you're listening, thank you for listening in to this therapy session. We appreciate it. We appreciate it. Golly, man.
Oh, man, that's real, man. But real talk though, man. I really appreciate you for all that you're doing, man. Dude, you're impacting the world in your own way, but you're utilizing your gift to do so. And I salute you. I salute your wife. I salute your family for stepping up and doing that. And I guess the question that I have for you, as it pertains to being the voice, using your voice to be an advocate for healthy families. What is your goal, or like what is kind of your long-term goal in regards to that? Like, what's your moonshot?
Yeah, man. So, today is September the 17th or whatever.
Yeah.
So like, this day in history is something for me to listen back to, because I'm like, wow, like just the timing of this is just crazy. And we planned this date, like a week ago, but it's just like, I look at the last week of my life, bro, and I'm like, the way in which I've been challenged and the way I've been, just beat up a little bit, you know what I'm saying? The way I've been reminded of my need for grace and to give grace is just crazy. But anyway, so answer the question. For me, man, it looks like this. Like, I left my job 4 months ago to start this whole entrepreneurial journey. And so I realized is that, like, wow, I don't have certain skills that are required to like really like build a business. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's been amazing as a side hustle. It's been great side income, right? But if I'm honest, man, like, I thrive in structure. My creativity is at its best in structure, right? So for me to have to be the structure guy and I have to be the creative guy, it's like, it's a lot, bro. And I'm like, I don't. this vehicle is not going to get you like to where you want to go, and it is causing some carnage, man. And so to have to realize that, bro, like it's hard, man. It's hard because you kind of feel like, oh my gosh, but I can be this and do that. So for me, big vision is this, man, and it's always been. I believe that my wife and I are called, again, man, on a very large scale, man, to impact families, and to use creative means to do so, right?
That's big.
And so if I look at our podcast, you know what I'm saying, in 2016 and 17, if I look at our YouTube channel, and just like our conversation, Mike, like we stay up to 2, 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning easily, just talking. And sometimes that's not always good because like my wife is very much about outcomes. And so brothers, like if you are married, like really be a student of your wife, because I gather connection by talking. My wife is like, yo, I'm connected, not just solely by outcomes, but it's like, I really know that you feel me based on what you do. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So, all my life from my work, it's like I talk all day. You know what I'm saying? So for me to flip that switch or whatever, like, it's kind of like, yeah, like we good because we talking, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not over on the other side of the house, like not talking to you, like we sitting here talking, and that's beautiful, right? You know? And so, again, to answer the question, man, like long ball for me, man, is really being a lighthouse to make family cool, to make being a husband that is okay with going through a process where he's evolving as a man, where he's trying to understand, okay, like, yo, like, what does it look like to have all these gifts inside of you, but your wife has needs, like, you don't really have certain things because of that creativity, and like to be okay with that, and then move forward in light of that. That's messy, bro. And Instagram, you know, your Twitter feed, Facebook, like none of that shows that, man. So my wife Abby and I, man, like we I think together, man, like we can really do some amazing things, man, for our people for sure, but just for humanity and families, man. So Mike, however that looks, I don't know. It's a ever evolving process, but I think we are beginning to figure it out, and realizing, you know what, that this is just part of it, man. So I see numerous, you know, podcasts come out of that. I see books being written. I see conferences. I see a counseling center. I see all kind of stuff, man. Like these are my dreams, and so so to actually make that happen, man, is something else. But hey, man, I'm down with it. You know what I'm saying? I'm down with it. I'm down with whatever comes with it. So so yeah, man. Wow. That's what it is, bro. Good question.
And like you said, you know, your gift will make room. So you continue utilizing your gift. You keep walking in your purpose, dude. There's no choice but this thing to come to fruition in the way that it's supposed to. Again, you know, finding comfort in, you know, things not necessarily being laid out or perfect. That's where I think, and it's funny, as you were talking, this was a therapy session for me, because everything that you just mentioned is almost my identical scenario. Like literally, I'm the creative, visionary, whatever person, the communicator. I'm a communicator and a consultant as far as my natural inclination. But as far as the execution, at times I need help.
Yeah, man.
Right. And so, but it's funny because to your point, my wife is also the one that she might not be the visionary thinker, but she can take a plan and she can execute on a plan. She can follow a recipe. I'm in here throwing a recipe away, trying to add a little bit of this and add a little bit of that. You know, that's me. But the thing is, God put us together for a reason. And that's so right, how do we mix that stuff up and how do we make it happen? You know, that will come to fruition in some way, shape, or form, but we have to be open. And, you know, we're going to wrap this thing up in a second, but one of the things I want to leave you with, I don't know, did you see the Netflix special on Quincy Jones?
I did.
You did?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if you caught this part, but this thing, and I've used this in numerous talks, but one of the things that a reporter was in when he was producing Michael Jackson's Off the Wall album, and the reporter asked Quincy, they were like, you know, when you come into a project, do you have everything kind of laid out and, you know, ready to go? Because, you know, you're this amazing producer and all of that. And, you know, Quincy Jones being the cool cat that he is, he was like, nah, baby. You know, I don't have it all laid out, baby. Yeah. You know, I always leave about 20 to 30% room open for the Lord to move in the room. Because when the Lord moves through the room, that's when the magic happens.
Wow.
Producing music is always about capturing magical moments.
Yes.
And I thought that quote applies to life as well, because life is also about capturing magical moments. But we have to initially be open to the Lord moving, to the Spirit moving through the room, being open to that. And then once that thing moves and we can capture that, those are the magical moments that we're talking about.
Yeah.
So to your point, we don't know how it's going to play out, but you're open to it. You're currently utilizing your greatness. You're currently utilizing your gift in conjunction with your wife. And so capturing those moments, that's when the magic happens. And that's what it's all about, bro.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Yes.
That's good. And look, I'm grateful that this isn't just a therapy session, but that it's actually a podcast and it has replay value.
Yes.
So
we
this
gonna need
one
it.
for me is gonna be, it's gonna be like a saved, downloaded one that I listen to over and over again, man. I really appreciate it. Who knew that we would be able to get on?
Who knew, brother? Who knew? But now, before we go, because we about to wrap this thing up, because I know you got to go. You got some voice stuff to do.
Yeah, I appreciate
as a father, how has your journey impacted you as a father? And then the next part to that, how can the brothers and the ladies listening to, how can they all follow you, connect with you, and get in touch with you going forward?
Yeah, man. So you can definitely go over to donaldthevoice.com, just like my website or whatever. It's stuff over there. You can hit me on Instagram at Donald the Voice, and then my wife and I have a YouTube channel. It's called Family for a Lifetime. Then obviously, if you want to check out our podcast in the archives, it's called the Black Daddy Podcast.
Okay.
So that's that. But man, my journey to fatherhood, how it's impacting me just as a man. Rebecca Epstein did this study. I think she's from Georgetown. She did a study, and it was called Girlhood Interrupted. The erasure of Black girls' childhood. And as I read through it, Mike, some time ago, it really challenged me because the blurb, like in bolded on the study, it said something like, for the first time, data is showing that adults view Black girls as less innocent and more adult-like than the white peers, especially in the range of like 5 to 14. Black girls people see Black girls as needing less nurturing, less protection. They need to be supported less. They need to be comforted less. They are more independent. They know more about adult topics, and they know more about sex, right? So this is like longitudinal study done by Georgetown. And I thought about, man, wow, like my journey as a dad to girls. I was like, yo, I need to be healthy and whole so that this whole adultification of our Black daughters, they can be little girls, man. And I do agree that we need to raise them in a way in which they're prepared for the world and they have and are strong and that type of stuff. But man, I tell you, man, like it's nothing like knowing the impact that a father can have on a daughter, and then like how that impact will then impact, you know what I'm saying, like her children, yada 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 yada. And bro, this whole journey of fatherhood, man, like it's not so much just about like the cuteness of it and the pictures and how it makes us feel, but it's like, wow, this is like a whole life.
Yes.
Like this is like a whole human out here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's a whole human.
It's like my wife has this function, like she like a whole human, right? So it's just this thing was like, wow, like
that's real.
Raising little people, you know? And so, you know, to have to walk through that, man, is you know, we can't take it lightly, you know. And so I think you know, fatherhood is a courageous journey because we have a lot of influence, bro, on generations, you know. And so I don't know if that answers the question, but that's just kind of what I'm over here mulling over and like, Lord, why? You know what I'm saying? But yeah, man. So that's why I am, my brother.
Man, I appreciate it. And fellas, I hope y'all really take heed to what my man Donald the Voice Gadson stated, man. I mean, we need to be healthy and whole because we're here to, you know, to support, to lead, and to help them. And it's not just about them, it's the generations that are going to follow them. So we have to take action on what we need to take action on. And, you know, my man is really setting a good example. And I appreciate you. I'm happy to call you a friend. I'm happy that we've connected. I'm glad you reached out, man, because literally we have some synergy here that's really going to grow and develop, I think, going forward in something. I don't know what, but something. And
Never
I
know,
appreciate you for stepping into my life and stepping into the family of Black Fathers Now and sharing your journey and your story, and keep doing what you're doing, brother. We appreciate you.
Brother, man. Appreciate you guys, man. Hey, daddies, be encouraged, man. Like we need you. Be encouraged. Keep pushing, baby.
Keep pushing. And make sure to follow Donald the Voice on Instagram. Check out the archives of his podcast, the Black Daddy Podcast. Visit donaldthevoice.com. Check him out, man. Listen to you. Hear his voice. You know he got some stuff going on for show. Right? Get at him. And you said what was the YouTube channel again?
The YouTube channel is Family for a Lifetime.
Family for a Lifetime. So make sure to follow Family for a Lifetime on YouTube and connect with Donald and his lovely wife, his little girl, and y'all just learn more about him. Make sure you let him know you heard about him on Black Fathers Now as well. All right?
Thanks, man.
So fellas, again, shout out to Donald the Voice Gadson. We want to thank him for all that he's done. Again, reach out to him, connect with him, let him know you heard about him on Black Fathers Now. And as always, visit blackfathersnow.com. Follow Black Fathers Now on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Shoot some emails, blackfathersnow@gmail.com. What did you learn from this episode? I know you learned a lot, so I'm expecting a lot of emails so I can forward them over to Donald and let him know the impact that he's having on society with what he's doing. And, fellas and the ladies listening too, until next time, y'all be blessed, well, and wise. And I'll holler at you. Peace. Yo, fellas, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. And always visit blackfathersnow.com, as well as follow Black Fathers Now on virtually every social media platform you can think of. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, everywhere. Just follow us and engage with us, man. Look forward to hearing from you. And I guess until next time, I'll holler at you. Peace.